He's the coach of the Phoenix Suns now. Can you make Kevin Durant and Chris Paul and Devin Booker play defense? Chris Paul is 38 years old and on his last legs in the NBA. You're going to make that man play defense. You're going to make that man fight for a championship ring at 38 versus 2 years ago when Monty Williams was there. That was his only chance. And now you're saying this man can bring a championship back to Phoenix. I'm like, what? Well, first of all, Phoenix has never won a championship. So there's nothing there at Phoenix. He'll get the best out of them in Phoenix. He'll do a fabulous job. But championship, nah. I think he'll last more. I don't want to say those things, but this is unbelievable. Let's play a clip from Stephen A. giving Frank Vogel some type of praise, but not a whole lot.
Frank Vogel are finalizing a 5-year deal to make him the franchise's next coach, delivering him the
about who they acquire and put on that roster for him to coach. What they have is not enough for him to get them to the finals. I can tell you that much. Not with Denver still in this conference for years to come, but obviously
I think
they need additional personnel. But let me say this about Frank Vogel, okay? Frank Vogel's a good coach, and a lot of people gave him a bad rap to some degree. Let's be very, very clear. The man knows how to coach defense. He's been to 3 conference finals, and he's won an NBA championship. He won 58% of his games in the 6 years he was in Indy. He won about 56% of his games the 3 years that he was in Los Angeles. He obviously felt like he should have been there. He felt shafted when he was let go by Jeannie Buss and the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's got a chip on his shoulders, and he's out to prove and remind people what a quality coach he is. It remains to be seen whether he'll pull that off or not, but having Kevin Durant and Devin Booker as your cornerstones for your franchise is certainly a good way to go. But the man does know how to coach a little bit. He's not a scrub coach. He's not ignorant. He knows what he's doing. It's going to be really interesting to see. I'm glad that he got this opportunity for himself. He does have some things to prove, but I do think that it really doesn't come down to him. It comes down to who James Jones or whomever else Ishbia puts in that position, who they're going to put on that roster surrounding Devin Booker and KD, because clearly they let go of a lot of bodies, probably one too many bodies, which had a lot to do with why they went home early.
You heard from Stephen A. I agree with him. I definitely. But however, he should have never left Los Angeles. Like I said in the last segment, public pressure dictates how the NBA society changes. So, with that being said, when the Lakers struggled in 2022, they went with Darvin Ham. Now, Darvin Ham could be a great coach, but he's not there yet. I don't think he will be there with the type of talent that he has. He's not a better coach than Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel literally brought the franchise back to their glory days. It's just that public pressure got in the way. Now, you can easily say LeBron got in the way. You can say Anthony Davis got in the way. But Anthony Davis has been the same dude ever since he got out of college. His best playing days are way behind him. But he's gone on record, and he'll get the, like I said, he'll get the best of players. KD will actually his defense will be a little bit better. Devin Booker as well. Chris Paul as well. It could be his last chance to fight for a championship. And the biggest key in the world is DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton, at this point, you're 24 years old. You got to get it right or get out. That's what it is. if you can't be real with yourself, you weren't real with Monty Williams, you're going to be real with Frank Vogel. The organization believed you over Monty. Let's be honest. Let's be real on that. They believe Ayton over Monty. Monty has won a bunch of games, won an award, brought Phoenix back to existence. And you worry about a useless guy. Useless that can't post up. That got bullied by Jokic. Teammates are asking him to play basketball. But they'd rather believe Ayton over Monty. And this is why Monty had them. It's one player's ego that got in the way. One. The owner could have easily ignored that and said, kept Monty, got rid of Ayton, traded Ayton. You had that ability. James Jones had signed off on that. This is the owner's decision to hire Frank Vogel. James Jones didn't sign on it. I don't know him personally, but I know in that front office he did not sign off that. It was the owner that did that. The owner did that crap. I'm not saying Frank Vogel's a bad hire. I kind of like it. But I felt like there could have been somebody else. Then you got Kevin Young. Kevin Young, oh man, he could have gone elsewhere. He could have got a head coaching job elsewhere. And I hope he does get a head coaching job elsewhere. I thought he was going to get this one. I thought Phoenix will be able to hire within. Because you make him a full-time coach, you haven't lost anything. You might change pieces there instead of just trying to change your whole trajectory of the offense and the defense. You have Kevin Young, who is one of the best young assistants in the league, and they convinced him to stay in Phoenix. They upgrade his salary. He could have taken the head coaching job at any of these spots. He could have gone on and been an assistant coach along with Monty Williams in Detroit. He's that talented of a coach. They convinced him to stay. Wow. I'm like, okay. Interesting. Well, we just got to see what happens. And Frank Vogel, unfortunately, he's under pressure for the 2023-2024 season. I'm doing this early because you got to remember the season starts in October. So, it doesn't hurt to do things early, right? So, number 2, Monty. Speaking of Monty Williams is my second one. And I hate to put him on the spot, but he's under pressure in Detroit because Detroit has not won in a long time. I remember in 2004, the bad boys of Detroit Pistons. Those were their best years. It was Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Lindsey Hunter. Am I missing anyone? Charlie Villanueva. Yeah, I'm trying to say that 100 times. That was their team back in the 2000s. They haven't been relevant. And you bring Monty with a bunch of young. Look at their roster. Like you got Marvin Bagley, who has to have a second chance, because I thought he'll be the face of Sacramento when he was drafted back in 2016. Actually, well, I mixed my years right. Outside of DeMarcus Cousins, he fell out. Now it's his chance in Detroit. Then you got James Wiseman, who was the second pick in 2021. James Wiseman has fell out, guys. This guy is not going to be in the league much longer, unfortunately. And I hate to say that. I'm being honest. Jaden Ivey, another young stud. Cade Cunningham, another young one who can't stay healthy. And I don't think when you can't stay healthy, you can't focus on basketball. Well, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. When you don't stay healthy, your focus is away from basketball. Your focus is on not only trying to get better, your focus is on other things that you want to do. That's why your game has fall off every time you come back from injury. And Cade Cunningham is no exception to that. I think Monty will do a fabulous job over there, trying to get the younger players back engaged. Because Detroit has not won in a long time. It's been years. I just don't want veterans like Corey Joseph or Alex Burke to sit on the bench and try to coach these guys, because I don't like – they can still play basketball. I just don't like that for them. They're not used to – they're not the Blake Griffins or the Udonis Haslem or, better yet, Reggie Jacksons of the world. And I bring up those names because those are the guys that are sitting at the end of the bench trying to coach the younger guys. Udonis Haslem has done a fabulous job in this league, and he's doing a fabulous job coaching these younger guys. They don't get any playing time. Blake Griffin is just a dancer now. Reggie Jackson is just a homebody. Reggie Jackson, he started becoming irrelevant in his Clippers days. That's why they got rid of him. For someone better, someone that's passionate about basketball. So we need that passion back in Detroit. Detroit said, we're going to go all in with Monty Williams. He's going to be our coach, and that's that. We're going to pay him a lot. We're going to get him back on track. We're going to produce him with younger players. He's going to get them engaged again. Engagement. That's the key. Engagement has to be for Detroit. These younger guys could be the face of the league. We got it. When John Morant is messing up in the world, younger guys like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey could be the face of that league. He could take that throne from Morant and become that face. I'm not saying he could be the face of the league, but they have a chance. They can outthrone Memphis and the younger teams of the league. They can do that. But it comes with time. And it won't be long till Monty gets them back to relevancy. But the key word is engagement. I want to write that down for Detroit. Engagement. Frank Vogel's word will be buy-in. So I got buy-in for Frank Vogel. I got engagement for Detroit. Oh, I like this. Buy-in for Frank Vogel, engagement for Monty Williams. And both of those guys will do a great job. Number 3, Nick Nurse. He is the coach of Philly. He's a 2019 NBA champion with Toronto. That was Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, and all of them. Pascal Siakam, for one. He works well with superstars, undrafted free agents, draft picks. Embiid will see his scoring go down from 30 points a game to 23 points a game. So we don't know what Nick Nurse is going to run, his offense is going to run. But his offense, to me, if I could paint a picture of what his offense is going to be, it's got to be consistent. That's my other word. Buy-in, engagement, consistency. What worked in Philly has to stay working in Philly. And the only thing is that he's going to twix some things up. Maybe get them past the NBA, past the conference semifinals. What was Philly thinking about this hire? You got to remember, his 2019 days are behind him. You have Kawhi Leonard now that wanted out after 2019. And literally he can do whatever he wanted to. That's why he's not performing well with the Clippers. That's another story for a different day. But you got to remember, this man had his team in the play-in last year. Well, this past last season. And did not meet expectations, did not do well. And so he took the initiative and said, you know what? If I'm not going to produce, I'm going to resign. Or I'm going to force their hand, and we're going to mutually part ways. That's it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to part ways. We're going to get rid. I'm going to go to a different team. I'm going to sit out a season. And I feel like, speaking of sitting out a season, I feel like Doc Rivers will not get a job in the NBA, a coaching job. I think he's going to take the year off. If I predict right now, he's going to take the year off. He's literally going to take the year off. Literally. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Doc Rivers is one of the best coaches in the league. A top 10 NBA coach, if I was making a list right now. The passion and energy that he's brought on a daily basis in a regular season, not a playoff coach, a regular season coach, is unbelievable. And you got to understand, back in 2010, back in 2008 and 2010, when he had the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals twice, you had players who bought in. You had players who are vets it was a different brand of basketball back then. And now you have to work on consistency with Nick Nurse. So the other reason is James Harden. James Harden is once again a free agent, and once again flirting with going back to Houston. Now, that's a source saying that. But sources cannot be true. This is why I don't believe in sources. And they like to stir the pot. And when that pot gets stirred, they're going to force the player's hand. That's what we're going to do daily, right? James Harden's not going back to Houston, guys. If he's smart enough, he'll stay in Philly and work it out in Philly. Or else we can call him entitled. Because he has not produced in playoff games. He'll produce in the strip club, but he will not produce in a playoff game. And there's nothing wrong with strip clubs. There's nothing wrong at all. It's just that when your number is called, you got to produce. You're talking about a Game 7 on the road, and you only scored 9 points. That tells me your mind is not in it. And that's why you got Embiid saying the things that he said in the season press conference. So that's my word: consistency. You're not going to get anything outside of the superstar. You think Nick Nurse will get you to the finals just because he has one? You got to remember what got him there. You got to remember what players he had and the after effect. I don't know where this team's going to go, but whenever you hire a new coach, you can take a step forward or you can take a step back. In this case, you're in the middle. What about Tobias Harris? What about PJ Tucker? Well, you can't bang on PJ Tucker. What about Tobias Harris? We're still waiting for him to become that elite player. He has his moments. But with the new coaching staff, let's see what happens. I was hoping for Sam Cassell to get that job. But they don't believe in Sam Cassell's beliefs. And I talk about his basketball. The man's been in the game for 30-plus years. He know, as a player and a coach, he knows his stuff. He could have taken a head coaching job elsewhere. But now, he's in Boston, coaching younger dudes. And he'll do a better job over there than what he was passed on. I feel like he was trying to get this job, Philadelphia 76ers job. But players, but ownership. They see a championship. They see an extensive resume. They're gonna hire the best. And in this case, this is skeptical to me. So let me write this down before I forget. So I think I said the first one. I said buy-in, and I said buy-in for Frank Vogel. I said engagement for Monty Williams, and then I'm going to say consistency for Nick Nurse. I'm writing this down because I don't forget after the show. Number 4, Adrian Griffin. Adrian Griffin is the Milwaukee Bucks' newest head coach. He spent 10 seasons in the league, especially 3 with the Mavs, 14 years as an assistant. This is I'm glad he got this job. It's taking a step back from what you got to remember is recently that Milwaukee won the championship. That's 2 years ago. And now you're taking a huge step back to hire a coach that has never been a head coach before, but yeah, he's been around the block. So I don't know what we're going to expect from Adrian Griffin. You got Giannis, you got Brook Lopez, you got Drew Holiday, you got Grayson Allen, you got Pat Connaughton, you got Chris Middleton, you got Wes Matthews, you got Jay Crowder. That is one hell of a roster, guys. That is one hell of a roster. That is the best roster in the East. That is they literally won the Eastern Conference in the regular season because they were number 1, but they got bounced early. And now you blame on Mike Budenholzer? That's just a bad season. That's just a bad season. Like Giannis said, it was a failure. But you got to let these coaches fail, especially the good ones. Pop failed. Pop failed this season. Did he complain? No. He was honest and transparent with his answers in every press conference. But you fired, like I said, public pressure. Milwaukee wanted a head coach, and they got one, Adrian Griffin. Something happened. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I can tell you his work cut out for him. So it's going to be a long journey. So I'm going to say journey for this next one because Adrian Griffin is going to a place where they got it already. They have the best players in the league. It's just you got to be able to rotate them inside and out. Got to be able to what lineup fits best with this group. Giannis is the main catalyst. What works with him? I think and that's journey is going to be the word for me. Because I think that it's going to take them a step back from what Griffin's wanting. So I'm going to write that on journey. Journey will be my one. Number 5, Jason Kidd. Oh my gosh, this is the worst. I feel like Jason Kidd may not see a 4th season unless the Mavericks win 50 games next year. And I say this because this team last year tanked. Well, not tanked, but they were just not good at all. And then you botched the last 3 games to get a number 10 pick. How selfish do you have to be? As an organization, you were within seconds of making the NBA Finals. If Andrew Wiggins' dunk over Luka did not happen, you would have won that game. And we'll be talking about you in the NBA Finals. I'm not sure if you would have won it, but you'll be in the NBA Finals. Momentum shifts every single year with the Dallas Mavericks. We don't know what type of team we're going to get every season. This is why in the last day or two, they've been flirting with the idea that Kyrie went to LeBron and talked to him about joining. Joining him was Dallas. That's crazy to me. That is the stupidest thing I ever heard. And I'm not even going to believe it for 1 second that LeBron's going to come here and team up with Kyrie and Luka. That's not going to work. You can't have two superstars, well, actually three, on one team. That's selfish. It never works. The New York Liberty of the WNBA are struggling with it right now. It's not going to work in Dallas. I don't want to believe that. People have to stop believing this. They have to stop. They did this for Kobe back in the 2000s. Rest in peace to Kobe. But Kobe never stepped an inch in Dallas. Never wore a jersey in Dallas. And now people are getting giddy and excited about Kyrie going to LeBron to talk to him about joining Dallas. For what? You don't need him. This team tanked. They tanked the last 3 games of the season. And Jason Kidd had the audacity to be nonchalant in the press conference and said, "Oh, well, it wasn't our year." It was. You just did not give a damn. And I don't know why I'm passionate about the Mavericks. They're not my team. The Spurs are. But I'm so mad. I'm mad because you were there. You were right there last year. And you take a step back. You're supposed to move forward. You don't trade your best defenders for a guy that could leave. He may go to Memphis for all we care about. He may be the face of Memphis. And honestly, I wouldn't blame him for that. I wouldn't blame Kyrie. Kyrie makes his own decisions. I wouldn't mind him staying in Dallas for one more season. But when he's on the court, you're going to get the best. When he's off it, I don't know. Let him do his thing. At this point in time, is 50% basketball and 50% the other stuff. It's half and half with Kyrie. Let's be honest with ourselves. If you want players to buy in 110%, that is, heck, Luka's not buying in. Luka's 90%. Who else buys in? Nobody on that roster. No. The number 10 pick, whoever they draft, is going to be buy-in because he's used to it. He's coming to a team that got to the conference finals last season, but took a major step back. And now Dallas may never be relevant for a long time. And I mean that in the most positive way possible. So, to me, let's not talk about it. I'm done with that. My word will be survival. So, survival for Jason Kidd. So, survival. I'm going to write this down. Number 6, Ime Udoka. He's the new coach of the Houston Rockets. Now, 51-31, his only season in the NBA Finals. Now, everybody knows the story of the scandal of was in the Boston Celtics organization. Okay? I want the man to recover from this. He did nothing criminally wrong. Let's be honest with ourselves. He did nothing wrong. The only thing is he got caught, right? He got caught with someone was in an organization, cheated. It's a story. Houston made that hire quick. And then on top of it, I'm going to bring Ben Sullivan. I'm going to bring Mike Moser and Aaron Miles. Remember Aaron Miles? He was at Kansas point guard back in 2003. You know how I remember that? Because of basketball history. I watched him in Kansas. That man, the Celtics are young. Their group is young. They are the youngest group. I guarantee you, no one is 50 years old in that organization. No one. Until now. Now you hire Sam Cassell to be your lead assistant with the Celtics to help Joe Mazzulla out. That is the best hire that they ever made. This hire is good as well because you got younger guys that play the basketball, that play the game, and they can go with that youthful environment. Now, the growing process starts. Now, Jalen Green and Kevin Porter have to grow up. It's time. It's time to get out of your diapers and get on the court and make winning plays. Let's start winning again, Houston. I guarantee you, and I hate to bring this up, I guarantee you Ime Udoka is going to be that type of coach that wants to hang out with the players, whatever they do outside of the court, because Houston's that city. I've been to Houston. It's a fabulous city. I love it. The nightlife is crazy, but I do think that Ime will recover or will be the bigger person. He has to be, right? He has to be. And he will be. So my word will be growth because it's time to grow up in Houston. So growth will be that word. For my coach, I want to cheer for Ime. I think he'll do a fabulous job in Houston. Number 7, Steve Clifford. This is a horrible decision by Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan is the best player in the pen. And I see clips from people at work, which I'm trying to quit that job. And that's a different story for a different podcast. But Jordan has made the worst decisions ever. A great, phenomenal basketball player, no debate. But he makes the worst ownership decisions ever. James Borrego was better in that Charlotte franchise. I remember, as young as I am today, I remember Charlotte being that team, the Charlotte Hornets bringing that city back, the playoff games, Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Stacey Augmon. I could go down the list. Baron Davis, not Ricky Davis. No, Ricky Davis didn't play for Charlotte. I think he did. No. Now you have LaMelo, you have Terry Rozier, you have don't even include Miles Bridges. You have PJ Washington. Those guys have to lead. Steve Clifford is not a leader. Steve Clifford will get every job in the book because he's a good lead assistant, but he's not a great head coach. You're not going to bring superstars to Charlotte. Charlotte has no ceiling. They need to find their identity. Identity is the key word. ID. Because they don't have it. It starts with the coach, and it goes down to the players. So if you really want to bring this franchise back, you got to identify your players. You got to know what their best skill asset is. And Steve Clifford does not have that. Number 8, Taylor Jenkins, Memphis. He's been there all 4 seasons, 179 wins and 130 losses. He's undisciplined as a coach. He's undisciplined. He allows his players to do what they want on and off the court. Now, off the court stuff he cannot control. I agree with him on that. But at some point in time, don't you think you have to move on from Morant? Now, people were giving the expectation of 30 games. If the NBA is going to announce this crap after the NBA Finals, it's going to ruin everything. You're going to ruin everything for the players that are coming up. You're ruining, everybody's going to focus on the draft. There's not ever a better time to bring up somebody's negative nonsense. At some point, you have to find your leader. Leadership is one. And it starts with the coach. I'm going to write down leadership because you got to find it. If Morant does this again, he's out of the league. You have to release him and to send a message to other guys that if you want to be part of an NBA franchise, you have to give up yourself. If it's even giving up your friends that you grew up in the past, you have to give up that part of life, that negative life. People say, well, he didn't shoot the gun. Oh, dude, anytime you hold some type of weapon, you have to pay the consequences. And I don't think a slap on the wrist, 30 games is a slap on the wrist. Anything less than 40, anything less than, 8 less than the whole entire season is ridiculous on my part because he has not learned the lesson. John Morant has to find growth for himself. Go hang out with LeBron. Go hang out with Steph. Look at the guys that have been positive. Go hang out with Desmond Bane for a minute. He's your teammate. Go hang out with him. Steven Adams, the Memphis Grizzlies spokesperson. Go hang out with him. And I'm talking about Steven Adams. He can protect you. Number 9. Well, okay, I did put leadership. Okay. Number 9, Chauncey Billups. Okay, I'm going to have a draft show next week. And Chauncey Billups needs to perform better on his coaching wise. He's 60 and 104. Dude, you don't know what you're up against. You don't know. You are oblivious to your job, Chauncey. You don't know. Dame could be out of there. Dame could say, I want out. Because if you're not producing wins, I want out. You have to be oblivious. Word, oblivious. Oblivious to your actions. At some point. At some point in time, you cannot be in the top 10 or better yet, the top 5 every single year. You have to get this right. I cheer for you, Chauncey. I want you to be a head coach for a long period of time. But even if it's trying to get rid, I don't even want this guy traded, but even if it's trying to move on from Dame and make Anthony Simons the leader amongst the younger players that you're going to bring in, then you have to go with that. Dame, at this point of his career, wants to win. He wants to win. But if you're not going to give him that, you got to force his hand. You got to say, you know what, I want to be traded. And he has to accept that at some point. Number 10, and my last and final point is Wes Unseld Jr., the Washington Wizards head coach. He has a 70-94 record in 2 seasons, the same record that they had in 2 seasons. He's missed the playoffs twice. He's having issues with players' healthy and leadership. As Bradley Beal, who cannot get healthy, and that's Kyle Kuzma with his antics. Kyle Kuzma, you're almost 30 years old. You have to grow up, and this is you cannot wait until you're in your late 20s to grow up. You have to take your leadership seriously. You cannot worry about the Washington media coming after you. You have to just play ball, period. This is why this guy, Wes Unseld, will never have a job. Now they just hired a GM. They hired a new GM yesterday, and now they have a team president. Here's another player that can't accept the trade, Bradley Beal. What is in Washington that you can build on, Bradley? What is it there? There's nothing there for you. They're not building. Period. You got a 7'3" that can't stay healthy. You got another player that is inconsistent. My word is my word is downfall. They're a downfall of a franchise. At some point, the owner has to come to grips and say, "It's not the coach. It's not the coach. It's the players. The players are not going to accept the fact they are failing. They're saying they're big. They're better than you, but yet they can't get it right on a consistent basis. Downfall is my word, because they're just failing as a franchise. And this is a franchise that had Jordan in it. This is a franchise that had John Wall. Remember those days? They were making playoff runs. And now they're taking their downfall. They have to clean house. And they're about to clean house if Wes Unseld Jr. cannot get it right. If Bradley Beal cannot accept the trade that he's value of that trade. He can be traded at any time, and I want that for him. I want him to go to a team that can allow him to play his game and not worry about the Washington franchise. It'll be there, but somebody else will control it. But we just got to see what happens with these teams that think that these coaches can lead them anywhere, can lead them somewhere. Because they can't. And maybe mid-season we can revisit this and let's see who got fired. Or better yet, who can keep their job after the next season and beyond. But I want nothing but the best for these coaches. But it doesn't hurt to take accountability, Taylor Jenkins. But that's my list, guys. But next week, we're going to not only are we going to recap Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5 of the NBA Finals, we're going to talk about the draft. I have 10 players that I watch that you need to know of the NBA draft because it's draft season. I don't want anything to take away from these players that are going to the NBA. I don't want John Morant's announcement come before the draft. If they're saying after the finals, Adam Silver said that. I don't want it to come before the draft. Because the one question that ESPN will ask the commissioner or any Memphis staff, it'll be Malika Andrews. You're going to ask it when these players are going to be drafted. You're going to ask it at the wrong time. And I don't want these players to be taken aback from their moment. We got to appreciate their moment before Jaws. That's all I got to say. But that's next week. Top 10 draft players that you need to be heard of. I'm not even going to talk about Wemby. As a matter of fact, I'll start the tape on Wemby and see how great of a player this guy is. And maybe, well, actually, in the other podcast, which will be my 2-year anniversary, we'll talk about that. But I want to thank Angela for stepping in and manning the board. Appreciate that, as always. And prayers to Sammy as well. Hopefully she's doing great. And we will see her soon. But other than that, everyone, we'll see you next week. Have a great day and enjoy the NBA Finals and enjoy the softball finals as well. So I don't want to forget about the ladies, okay? I'll never forget about the ladies. So good luck to Oklahoma. Good luck to Florida State. And take care. It's Beyond the Game podcast on Fishbowl Radio.
Jamie, host of the Jamie and Genty Show, broadcasting live each week on Tuesday at 12 p.m. from Fishbowl Studios. Log on to hear sports talk from basketball to football and view your feedback on the biggest sports news you want to talk about from around the world. So be sure to log on each week Tuesdays at 12 p.m. to catch the Jamie and Genty Show. Hope to see you soon
on Fishbowl Radio Network.
Jump in.